We call the lynx the phantom of the forest here because it's very discreet and practically undetectable when it's not moving. It's a bit like an apparition. I'll often see one and then in an instant, a distraction, a glance to the right, whoop, it's gone. It's blended into the background. I've been tracking them for a little over 10 years, and it's become a daily quest, a never-ending search. No matter where I go, I seek their presence. I look for signs of them. They were reintroduced to the Jura about 50 years ago after having completely disappeared from our forests. The lynx population is now growing, and of course there isn't enough room for them all, so young lynx are being forced to seek other territories further away. This phenomenon is called dispersal, and these journeys take them much further south to the Chartreuse Mountains. Today I'm setting off on this journey too, and by experiencing it for myself I hope to understand what these young lynxes feel when they discover these new spaces, and maybe even encounter some in these new territories. To get to the Chartreuse, the best route available for me is to do like the lynx and follow the forest corridors, and travel from the Swiss Jura through the Doubs, the Haut-Jura and Bouget to end my journey in the Chartreuse Mountains. I'm about to pass the boundaries of the city where I grew up, almost the boundaries of the territory in which I've been tracking the lynx for all these years. I'll have to put myself inside the animal's mind to try to guess which route to take, which ridge to cross, through which valley to pass. The forest is the environment in which I feel the most comfortable, and it's also what connects me very strongly to the lynx. It's an animal that's exclusively forest-dwelling, and that's what makes us sort of forest brothers. If you asked me to name one animal that represents the forest, I'd say the lynx, no contest. I did an apprenticeship as a lumberjack to be outside in nature as much as possible. I've always been very attached to the forest, always drawn to trees. As with humans, seen from above they all look alike, but as soon as you look at them a little closer, each one of them is unique. It's a smell that's characteristic of the Jura. It adds a huge amount to the feeling I get when I'm in these forests. The smell of spruce is a great way of making yourself disappear, blending into the forest. To be able to put on another scent, to become a little more forest. These little things in nature can contribute to the success of an encounter. When we talk about dispersal, it's a term used to describe the behavior of a young animal that goes off in search of its own territory. If you want to describe it in a more poetic way, it's really the journey for life, to become a representative of its species. Now I'm leaving behind the forests that are familiar to me, the forests of the Jura Plateau. And for me, this is where the challenge of this journey begins. Leaving my comfort zone for forests and mountains that are unknown to me. And it's the same for the lynx. I don't know how it perceives this change in the landscape. It's going to involve reading maps, reading the landscape, finding the most favourable forests, where the most dangerous and complicated crossings are the easiest. After that, there can be lynxes in pretty much any mountain range where there's a forest. This is an old boundary stone that marks the border between Switzerland and France. There under the moss you can still see the fleur-de-lis of the French side. When you cross a border, it's always funny to think that this is France and just there it's Switzerland. But for animals it doesn't mean a thing. They don't have these notions, but they have their own notions of territory. They'll use rocks, tree trunks that are out of the ordinary, which stand out visually from the others, to create these landmarks in their own way, by depositing their scent there with urine or by rubbing themselves on them and leaving distinct scents between individuals. Defining their own borders, who has what right to what place, the right to food, the right to hiding places, to shelter, between males and females, and a lot of other things that we're unaware of too. Lynx move around a great deal. They occupy very large territories. They can sometimes travel 25 to 35 kilometers a day, not necessarily in easy conditions, in the snow, in steep places. The beauty of tracking lies in this slightly hypnotic element as you move along to the rhythm of your breathing. Here we have a really beautiful rock, which is between the drop and the wall. There's no way of getting through to the left. The only way through is this small gap here. The stone is very rough. There are lots of bumps and lumps. The animals can't avoid rubbing their sides on it or rubbing their neck, like this, or part of their shoulder, and leaving some hair or a scent. Here, there's a beauty. It's long and slightly orange. It's most certainly from a lynx. It's wonderful to see this cold stone holding so many signs of life. There's moss, you can see animal tracks there, you can see a lot of secrets that living beings have left behind. It's a bit like a visitor's logbook in a forest cabin, where you leave a little trace if you're passing by, you leave a little note for others. That's the whole power of tracking. It's succeeding in finding the clues to our present, clues to whatever we're looking for having passed this way. This is really excellent. We've a fairly fresh lynx track here. It looks a lot like one in any case. You can see the print here. The 4 pads. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's relatively fresh. It's no more than 48 or 72 hours old. Thanks to the rain, I can date this track a little. If it had rained, we probably wouldn't be able to make it out. It would be completely erased, in my opinion, even with just a little bit of rain. It's really excellent. It confirms that I've chosen the right path. So I'm going to carry on. It's really encouraging. Hello.
Hello.
Anything interesting in the trap?
I just got here. I haven't looked yet.
Okay, so you work for...
At the National Forest's office.
Okay.
I specialise in lynxes. I've got a number of camera traps set up in my area, which I check from time to time to see if anything's passed by.
That's what I'm here for too. May I look with you?
So, quite a few wild boar have gone by.
What's that?
A wild cat, but he passed too close to the trap. He's a bit overexposed. He must have been pretty dazzled by the flash. A beautiful wildcat.
Excellent, he's a beauty.
The same in daylight, going in the other direction.
There's only a small cat.
No lynx this time. He came by last month.
Okay, they passed by though.
Yes, I've some other traps to check if you're interested.
Yeah, with pleasure. Will you lead the way?
Yes. Let's see if we have a little more success on this side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boars.
It's a beauty. A badger.
Yes, the same again. Ah, there we are.
He's a beauty. He's a big guy.
When did he pass by? The 9th, a week ago. Same again. Same thing, the day before.
Yeah, in almost the same position. It's crazy. So what do you do with your photos?
The goal is to identify them.
Right.
Know which one is passing by, if it's a male or female. I use identification software based on the size and arrangement of the spots on the coat. I'll know if it's an individual that I've already photographed here or not. So we'll run an analysis to compare it with all the other photos that have been entered into the database. There, it's found him. And when we compare them with the naked eye, we can see that it's the same one. So this allows us to know which individual is present, and we might find him a few years later in another place. There are individuals who stay for quite a few years and others who are just passing through. But that's normal. The lynx is territorial. It won't let another individual hang around on its territory. So it will automatically have to go somewhere else to find its own territory. For example, there's a young lynx that was identified in the Doubs department, which we found a year later in the Chartreuse Mountains.
Okay.
This really is an ideal way to follow individuals and try to prove that they move from one mountain range to another.
Yes. So have you seen him for real?
This one? No. There are very few of them, so the likelihood of encountering one is minimal. I think he's seen me in the forest more than I've seen him. But still, it's something that fascinates me and drives me to carry on, spending hours following them in the snow, installing photo traps, checking the traps, and running the software to find out which lynx was there. But it's true that once you've made eye contact with one, all you want to do is do it again.
I couldn't live without these magical moments of twilight. It would be impossible. Of all the moments I spend in nature, they're undoubtedly the strongest and the ones that make me the most emotional. Now, what's more, I know that the animals that live during the day are resting, and the nocturnal animals are coming out of their shelters. Everyone's changing places, and for a brief moment of time, the world of the night is meeting the world of the day. Now there's just the wind, the peaks, the darkening sky, the vanishing rocks. They're very simple pleasures, but they're clearly part of the most beautiful moments of my life. The lynx is more than anything a solitary animal. He sleeps alone, he walks alone, he hunts alone. He faces the elements alone. What's so intense about imagining the life of a lynx is that everything he does he owes to himself. And when he suddenly finds a mate, when he goes to meet another individual, I think the emotion, the intensity of that moment must be very, very strong. It all begins here with these hoarse calls which split the night, and which seem very loud because there are no other sounds around. There's nothing but these high-pitched guttural calls. It's known as yowling. Calls of love. And it really is in this particular period, the rutting season, when he'll signal his presence, particularly to the females he's looking for, and also to any other males who might be there. His lonely calls will go unanswered for several nights, and then suddenly they'll be returned by the calls of the female who's arrived. And there I don't even imagine the visceral power with which he must be flooded, to think to himself that he's found a mate, and that for several nights they'll be united, they'll stay together, and they'll create life. It's fantastic. The big crows are the absolute sentinels of the peaks of the Jura. They know their territory like the back of their wings. They're inspiring, they're smart, and when you see this one having fun in the wind, in the storm, it feels like nothing can touch him. He's above everything. They're aware of everything that's going on. It's really worth listening to them, because when you know how to hear and interpret their dialect a little bit, it can teach us a lot. They signal everything. They signal a fox passing by, a lynx, and they're always on the lookout for the smallest thing that's out of the ordinary. I've often been able to locate animals with my binoculars by listening and correctly interpreting the alarm call of the crows. One of my dreams would be to have a crow to be my eyes in the sky and find what I'm looking for. Because he always knows where the lynx is. At least he never misses one that's passing by. Tracking is really about being able, through the prints, through what's been written in the snow, to be able to translate, to understand the story of what's gone before. It's a bit like a musical score, in fact. We get on the trail, we start to understand more and more. It's perhaps the oldest way there is of writing a story about something, the oldest storytelling medium there is. Oh yes, he went this way. The tracks have led me here, to this quiet little area in the rocks. We've got a really nice layer where the lynx lay down not so long ago. His coat was touching the snow, it melted the snow, and when he got up to leave, as it's very cold, it made a light crust of ice on the moss. These places must be really quiet. What the lynx likes in a place like this is that it's in a dominant position. He can see what's going on. He's master of his environment, master of his movements. For the lynx, that's very important. He hates feeling hemmed in, feeling trapped by something. The more I track the lynx, the more I realize that he needs this freedom of movement, not to feel cornered, and his solitary nature reinforces all of that. For me, the lynx is pure freedom. And that's so beautiful. The more time I spend in nature, the more I give myself this freedom, the more, when I return to the normal world, I find it difficult to be hemmed in. When I see the lynx, not just the lynx, any wild animals, there's a feeling of freedom. And I think that's the most fabulous thing about wild animals, to see them roaming free like that. The dispersal routes for an animal like the lynx are an adventure in which every day, every hour, a danger might arise that proves fatal to the animal. The power of the desire to live is so strong that enormous hardships can be overcome. This dispersal is a really terrible ordeal. These shelters are so important when you're traveling like this through the forest. They're here for the people who are lost or who are walking a long way. This feeling of security, sheltered from the weather, sheltered from the wind, sheltered from the rain and snow. I like to imagine while I'm going to sleep that a lynx might pass by. He'll smell the scent of my fire. He won't be worried because he knows he's camouflaged by darkness. The night conceals him. It makes him disappear. When you arrive in Bouget, you realize that there are a lot of small farming areas, that the landscape is very broken up with houses, small villages, small hamlets. Coming here, you realize that there are bound to be issues with the cohabitation between predators and people, and that the lynx will have even more trouble finding quiet places in which to hunt without interfering with the human world.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
That's Leica. She's friendly.
Leica, aren't you lovely? So what are you doing here?
We're putting up some protective netting so that he can let his sheep out so they'll be protected during the night by the netting and by the dog. We're in real lynx territory here. We have lynxes from the Doubs and from the Jura that pass through this area, because this is the dispersal gateway towards the Chartreuse, and our sheep breeders live right in the middle of these territories.
Have you ever seen any lynxes?
Yeah, I've seen one. When we had the first attack, it's true. We definitely wanted the lynxes to disappear. But then the next day, when I went back and I found it on the carcass, I took a photograph of it, and I thought it was pretty amazing. Now, thanks to the dog and these nets, we've managed to find a kind of balance.
It's as though we made a pact. You stay away and don't eat my animals, and I'll let you live in return. It's important that everyone respects this pact, this balance, so that the sheep breeders can continue to work and the lynx can continue to live in peace.
When we moved here, we felt like it was our home, and that basically there was only room for us to live here. That's to say, we had to rear our sheep, and as a result, we couldn't tolerate the slightest predation, because it's our territory and it's our home. But in 2016, we had some attacks, and as a result, we changed everything. And in changing our methods, we changed our outlook, because suddenly we realized that nature wasn't just there to annoy us. I no longer consider the lynxes to be a threat. We were scared of them, very scared. But once you get to know who you're living with, it's much easier to cohabit and to live together. So it's a relationship that's going to be serene. We know it's going to be fine. I don't know why. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's just going to be okay.
Leah and Raphael arrived here. They lost some animals, and it made them deeply angry. They felt hatred. They resented the lynx and the nature that surrounded them. But they managed to change this way of thinking and to move forward, to turn this hatred into a chance to be able to coexist with the environment around their farm. It's much easier to get rid of something that bothers us than to take the time to learn to live with it. From the edge of the forest to the inside wall of the sheepfold, the dogs that sleep with the sheep, the sounds, the way of thinking, the interaction of a couple who are very close. I find it extremely touching and beautiful, in harmony with what I want to believe. This morning, I can finally get a good look at the landscape of the Chartreuse, with all these mountains and all these rather steep slopes rising up around me, and I can imagine that there are lynxes pretty much everywhere. It's quite hard to plan where to search because I don't know this kind of terrain very well. I don't know if up there on the plateaus, on the tops of these ridges, if these places are rich in game, if there are shelters, how much human activity there is up there, if it's easily accessible, if it's too hard for the lynx to access. I'm going to try to get to the end of this range and see where the end of the world is, the end of the world for the lynx. This looks interesting. It's not very high either. So if it's here, it's not very high. There's definitely going to be game there. There's a very, very long rocky bar, very craggy, very long. If there is a lynx in this area, it's almost inevitable that I'll find, if not tracks, at least a sign of its presence. Yeah, I'm going to do that. We're off. Chamois are one of the lynx's favourite prey. Chamois and roe deer. And chamois in particular for individuals and adult lynx, because a chamois is a powerful beast. It's much heavier, much more solid than a deer. There's little chance that a young lynx, which has left home to find its own territory, will be able to bring down a prey like that. They sometimes eat other things, such as small voles, field mice, and even foxes or small wild cats. But if they can, they'll catch bigger prey like these. It's on evenings like these, when the wind's blowing hard, where conditions are difficult for the chamois. He can hardly smell anything, he can't hear sounds, and his nose is in the snow, practically covering his eyes sometimes. This really is the ideal situation for the lynx to capture a prey. My absolute dream, and the dream of any naturalist, I think, is to, all of a sudden, by chance, witness one of these predations. Here's the deer which was killed last night or this morning. You can see the marks of the canine that punctured the deer's neck really clearly. It'll be the same on the other side. It's really impressive. You can see it here. I think the deer's been lying here for some time. It was sheltered from the weather. I think it was sheltered here, lying down. He must have caught it here, He must have climbed on the stump and then got it here, down below. There aren't any signs of a struggle, so I think it must have been pretty quick. Here, you can clearly see the marks he made with his toes, covering up the prey like this. He covered his prey with snow. He did it to hide it. He'll come back later to eat it. With a bit of luck, if I keep well hidden and make a hide, I might get a chance to see him do it. I need to make sure it's firm because this isn't the night to have everything come crashing down on me. The aim of the game is to leave as many natural elements as possible, not to break branches for no reason. Everything that's here already is something you don't need to go and find. When I was a kid, I built cabins every week, a new one every time. Some were really cool, some were really sketchy. For me, the most useful education I got was the time I spent outside, building things. Sleeping outside in the tent, in winter, the first time I got too cold. It's all those moments that were extremely constructive and enriching for the life I lead now. Now, instead of doing it for fun, I do it to observe animals, to observe lynxes. The sun is going to set soon. In about 15 minutes, it will be behind the mountain. The snow will turn bluer and bluer, dusk will set in, and that's when there's the best chance of the lynx coming out to eat. The pleasure of seeing something, of observing nature, while having practically disappeared, that's what's fantastic about a hide. It's hiding from nature, blending into it, and that's where it's wonderful. When the animal pays no attention to me being here, this is what's fabulous about a hide. It's really dark now. He may or may not come. In the past, when a hide didn't work, it was really hard to swallow. Now I can put it in perspective. That's just how it is. You just have to accept it. You can't get upset about it. It's nature, that's how it is. It's the end of this trip, the end of this journey, and I'm really happy that it's a day where the weather's nice and I can see the landscape. There's a particular atmosphere that emanates from this place, with the caws of the crows ringing through these valleys. It's an extraordinary atmosphere. I know that there are lynxes here, and I also know that the young lynxes arrive at the end of this territory, at the end of this range. And here, to be honest, it makes me feel sad when I put myself in the mind of the animal, because it gets here and boom, it comes up against a terrifying obstacle, and it has to go back. Honestly, it's really, really scary. Especially after having been in the forest for several days. You get here, and the most overwhelming thing is not even what you see, it's what you hear. All the force of the noise, of the towns and villages below. It's a pretty clear boundary for nature, for animals, for the lynx. And beyond it, we can see the chartreuse, which stops dead, like the dunes in the sea. Poof, stops dead. The trees, everything stops dead at the edge of the city. It's really very sudden. You just have to go 50 meters and you can see houses, you can see the road, the highway. There are plenty of intersecting roads, there are villages, towns, all crammed together. So many obstacles to being able to continue the journey, which is impossible here for the lynx, to reach the other ranges, the other forests, which are just an eagle's flight away. There should be a connection so that it's possible to carry on and roam these other equally magnificent mountains. It's the natural order of things to be able to carry on and to conquer other landscapes. It doesn't take much. It would only take a small corridor to join these two ranges. And that's really what's missing. The challenge in our modern world is to stop wanting to separate nature from humanity, from society, and to learn how to bring together these two entities, these two aspects, in a more responsible way. I don't think we'll save nature as we know it today, but then again, we'll never get the upper hand over it. Nature will always win. As long as the world, as long as our world, our planet exists, nature will prevail, because even we are nature. It's the importance that we've given ourselves that's put us on a false pedestal, nothing more than that. An encounter with a lynx is always incredible. It's always out of the ordinary. It's always an unforgettable moment. He's not a member of my family. I absolutely don't consider him in that way. But on the other hand, I consider him a part of myself, a very important part. I'm convinced that we don't forge links with wild animals. On the other hand, in a completely unilateral way, I'm very attached to lynxes. But all they want is that I don't disturb them, and I respect that. That's what's beautiful. Being part of nature is knowing how to keep your place, everything in its place.